Hey folks, this is a long video, so I wanted to kind of let you know what's going on with this, what the hell's happening. So this is a video where my friend Dave and I go through the new Lowercase Noises and NAAL collaborative song that came out last week. So this is an hour of us going through the session, talking about the different layers and textures and kind of where they came from, how we came up with them, and sort of our general process through writing the song, which I think is pretty cool. And we are planning on doing these for the whole album. So there's 8 tracks. The full album's going to be out October 6th. You can pre-order it now on Bandcamp or stream the new single on Spotify. The links are in the bio here. So that's a thing. We're going to be doing that for all these tracks. However, this one I'm putting out fully on YouTube like this. The next ones are going to be only partial on YouTube, either clips or like half of it will be uploaded or something. And the rest is going to live on my Patreon page. So it's been a while since I updated stuff there, kind of trying to get back to it. So yeah, this one is just free out there. The other ones are going to be on my Patreon. So come check that out if you want. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say. Would love for you to check out and pre-order the album. There'll be more promo BS coming, so, but yeah, for now, hope you enjoy this video. Maybe you'll learn a new trick or something. Don't we love tricks? You might learn one. All right. Well, hope you enjoy. All right, folks. Welcome to this video.
Hello.
Dave and I, this is the first single that we were releasing from this album we've been working on. And so we're recording this first little track breakdown video. We're going to show you exactly what we did as much as possible and kind of walk through it. I'm going to just hit play on the track for now, and we can just like talk a little bit until we figure out where we want to go.
Yeah.
So, so this is ultimately the 5th track that we worked on, going in order.
Yeah, we spent a couple of days tracking a bunch of ideas and just kind of bouncing off of each other. One of us would start, and then we would kind of build a couple of tracking layers off of whatever the idea was at the moment, and
yeah,
mess around. And then yeah, once we had a good number of tracks built that way, we listened back and kind of decided arbitrarily, like, what should we release first? And we liked the vibe of this one, and so we jumped in and started cutting things up and arranging.
We really cut it up. Look at all these cuts.
You'll see how many little guys there are.
Little guys, yeah.
We'll talk about what's going on there in a minute.
I'll let this get to the drop,
Yeah.
There's a lot of that's still muted,
Mm-hmm. Which I guess is like, you guys can see then, like, kind of how we made the pieces that ended up in the final version. It's all pieces of those original ideas,
Yeah.
rearranged and resampled. So
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, so I guess, that's the vibe of the song.
It just goes on like
It
that.
just goes like that. But like this first thing you hear, like this sound was so cool that we were like, we don't even need to fade in, just like start with this sound. But this sound was created in an interesting way. So I will show, so that's the result for that sound. But at the top here, I have a hidden track. There it is. This is a guitar part that I recorded. That, yeah, because one of my original thoughts on this one was like, oh, let me make a loop, like a habit loop, that will slowly deteriorate, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I'll play it here. Obviously, this sound itself didn't make it into the track, but wait. don't need to solo that either. So this is the guitar. I think I was using the dropper algorithm on Habit, so like over time it's just more and more of the audio is dropped out. Let me see how this loop starts even. Like, what is it? Oh, that is the beginning of it. There's no more. So I must have started recording when it was already pretty deteriorated. Oh, interesting.
I haven't heard this since the day we recorded it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
It was a little slide through the Habit,
Yeah.
and then
So you can hear like later on in the track it's like a lot less because a lot of it has been dropped out. So I was like, well, that layer's probably cool. We can use that.
Mm-hmm.
But then what ended up happening, I mean, with a lot of these tracks is, let's see, is it bus 1? Is that that's the Primal Tap bus, I'm guessing? Yep. So a lot of times if I want to take a sound and be like, oh, let's resample it and have it do something different, I'll just send it into this Primal Tap plugin. So it's got that recorded, and then we sent it to this Primal Tap plugin. And I mean, this isn't reflective of the settings we used, but the long story short is that these sounds, when sent into Primal Tap and like pitched down and looped and whatever, turned into this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing, just listening to it, I'm guessing this is letting those layers fold back upon itself. So a bunch of those Habit parts are like bunching up on top of itself, and then it's an octave down.
Yeah,
Clearly.
and I think most people that are going to be watching this are familiar with the concept. But if you haven't used Primal Tap that way, basically there's a freeze, a hold button on the delay, because it's a delay.
Mm-hmm.
But you can freeze a little sample and it'll grab whatever is like passing through the delay and just hold that phrase and keep playing it over and over. When you hold it like that, you can adjust a bunch of parameters. You can adjust the
that button right there.
So you grab the freeze, you can adjust the multiply thing over on the right hand side, which is going to make the speed and the size of the loop change.
This goes by octaves, and then this one you can adjust in between.
Yeah, the rate and depth they add a little bit of the like warbliness that you hear. We use that all over the place.
I'm guessing if I just straight up like put a pitch shifter on this to bring it back up an octave, that it would sound more similar to the old track. I don't know if this is even worth doing it. So if we go up 1,200 cents, let's see what that sounds like. Wait, hello?
Hello?
Yeah. So it's a little weird, but you can hear, it sounds more like that guitar part.
Yeah, and the neat thing is because we're not really, at this point, we're not really recording to a click or anything.
No, yeah.
But the Primal Tap is like grabbing things in chunks as if it were a bar of music, but because we're not playing in time to anything,
right?
It's grabbing like abnormal sized things, making really interesting.
There was no
patterns.
intention to make this fit to any grid, ever.
Nope.
And then the other thing that's obviously happening to it is like a moving filter. Oh, I used this. I never used this. Why did I use that? That's funny. Yeah, this Filter Freak plugin is at a very slow rate moving a bandpass filter at roughly above and below 337 hertz.
This is another move you'll see, the Primal Tap and the
Primal Tap and Filter Freak. Yeah.
All over this project.
Yeah. So that's that sound, and like it just comes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
throughout the rest of the song. So that was like, I feel like this was one of the first tracks on this one where we're like, oh, cool, that's like a primary sound on this one.
Yep.
And what else do we got? What am I playing here? It's just a straight up drone. It's labeled as such. Yeah, I wanted something really simple. What do I got on this? We got a little saturation, some delay, and then a pan man that's like moving it left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. Let's see, what would it be like without this? Yeah, it's just boring. It's sitting in the middle.
Yeah, it's like, it's whatever. You add a little bit on top, and it's like,
The other, I think I had to do some. Yeah, see, I'm doing some like quite the EQing. So I'm like dynamically EQing the 2K range because there's a lot of nasties up there. I bet if I take that out, you start getting those real harsh sounds. But this is nice because it only pulls those frequencies out when they get too loud. And same with these lower ones too. So I don't have to just like cut those EQs and leave them. They can bounce back up. Yeah, but this is the only processing for that guitar. It's just all this right here. Pretty simple one.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is an example of a track that I believe we added later in the process because it was like, I think we just need something sitting in there, you know?
Yep.
What else do we got? We'll come back to this one. We got some of your tracks here. This is one of the. This one was a cool.
Oh yeah.
This one gets kind of buried, but it's a cool one, I think.
Yeah, I think these were pretty early on. Also, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Which guitar parts we put down first, but that was generally how we started most of the tracks. But this was just, I let a loop run through my El Cap Sonnet Sound Looper for too long, and so any sense of like whatever I played into it is pretty much gone.
Yeah, it's only like the oscillation that's kind of coming through. I tried to like focus in on it with the EQ here.
Yeah, I think I was using some of the filter pedal as well.
Yeah.
But so it's like double filtering some
Right.
of those frequencies. But
and we got, that's pretty wide, moving left and right, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then we've got nothing, an effect rack with nothing in it.
Yeah, we opened it up and we're like, yeah,
cool. I guess I'll
some DSP.
take that off, and then a little verb, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just that little screech. It's kind of like a screech white noise thing.
Yeah, it's
feels
like
really
a little
good.
more interesting than just having straight up white noise panning or whatever. But
I think in the mix, this ends up being one of those things that you're like when it's gone, you're like, oh, something's missing, but you can't necessarily like pinpoint it when it's in there, which I like a lot. And then you have a loop that's more like you can actually hear some notes and stuff. Yeah. Was this from earlier in this loop?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Yeah, because look, I cut it up 7.1, and this is 7. Yeah, it's all from the same take. Yeah, so I bet this was the sound of the capstan before it degraded to this, I think.
Yeah, and some of these, like before we're tracking, we didn't really know like what the track lengths or anything would be, and so we had different processes for each one, just kind of vibing on what was happening in the moment. But I think for some of these, it was like, we just play for 10 or 15 minutes, and so you have the natural evolution of whatever's happening on the board, and then you can just cut it up and like grab the parts that you liked and rearrange them like this.
And like for right here, but there was only about this much of that loop that was. Before and after this, it was a little more muddy, or like it started degrading a lot after this. So I just cut it up and pasted it 3 times and crossfaded it to make it fit that length, even though the actual part wasn't that long. So that's cool. And then you have a little reverse layer.
I think that might be from Looper. Yeah, I think that's because I'm matrix mixing. It's basically the same. It's the same thing, but as we were improvising, I think I turned down the dry loop and just had Looper doing a reverse and probably filtering.
Yeah. It looks like the only thing I'm doing on this is more filtering, but then this is a trick I like to do a lot. Like if I don't send to this bus, like this is panned hard left without the bus, and that's how I wanted it.
Yeah, because I think we had something like another one of your guitars panned hard right that we ended up getting rid of.
Yeah,
like moving somewhere else.
I think it was that one that ultimately turned into the intro sound. But usually when I hard pan something like this, I like to send it to a bus like this, bus 9, which is where is it? It's right here. And the first thing I do on this bus is smash everything to mono. Oh no. Sometimes I'll smash it to mono, but this time I just completely flipped the direction. So if I turn off the reverb on this bus, it'll sound like it's dual mono because it's playing in the left and then in the right. But really what it sounds like is your main signal left ear, and then the reverb is responding as if it came in the other side, which makes it sound fuller while still being left heavy, you know?
Shouts out,
yeah. Wait. So this is the sound you get where like the loop itself is a little more defined in the left ear, but it's still like stereo spaced.
Yeah.
If I just solo this. Just the verb, you see that it's a little on the right, but together they feel good. And there's different verbs that are like, some verbs, if you send it like a fully left or right signal, it'll like either retain that and the reverb will be fully left or right. But Valhalla, at least it seems like it puts it in the stereo field still. So it just depends on how the verb reacts. All right, so below all this stuff.
Yeah, that's like most of the early stuff that we did, and then kind of just like took a lot of those pieces. Well, I think we put the bass in early too, but took a lot of those pieces and did these sort of remixes and chopping up stuff.
Right. I think maybe I'll go see what these other parts of mine were, and then talk about the Primal Tap stuff. So this is a later layer of mine that comes in. Oh yeah, I was trying to get something like a little more sparkly. So that's definitely some like Mood 2 stuff going on. I believe I'm using it in delay mode, but with a really low clock. So it's like the delayed repeats are like almost bit crush sounding. What am I doing to this? So I'm verbing it out, of course. Yeah, this is the like dry signal. So you can hear, I believe what I'm doing is like a drone with the dark star and then into mood. So that's pretty cool. And of course we put more verb on it. What is this? Just the dirt. I like the dirty hall on Valhalla. And then what is this? Oh, this nasty one. This one's titled Nasty.
Yeah, this was an early one too.
Well, this one, but this was another one where it's like, this sound was at like the end of 15 minutes. And I was just like, oh my God, this is one of those moments we actually decided to use. I think I EQ'd this like crazy though. We're probably, yeah, so without this, that was the sound. That's basically Mood 2 plus gen loss doing different stuff. But I knew we didn't really need the low mids or lows. We mostly just wanted the like crackly stuff, you know. So that's
Yeah,
what
because
we
at this
got.
point in the track,
It's like the big like
there's a lot of stuff in, and so yeah, you maybe like when we had that sound, we were like, oh, this is cool, but by the time we get it placed, you got to carve out exactly where you want it to be, so it's not muddying everything up.
right. So it's actually adding something to it, not just being annoying. So that, I mean that covers the amount that we like recorded of our instruments, which is very funny. So the big other part of this is the Primal tap samples. So I had it set up so obviously this first bus here, bus 1 is I threw a Primal tap on it, knowing that I was gonna want to bus many different things to it and then freeze it and then re-record it. So there's a setup here. Maybe this isn't the most ideal way to do it, but for each one of these tracks, we have a Primal tap bus. And then I'm busing that bus to another bus, which has no output. So we're not going to hear this ever directly, but this second bus allows me to record that input. So you'll see all these Primal tap record tracks all have bus 7 as their input. That's just the way I've figured out how to record Logic tracks into itself. So it's dumb that you have to do a second bus, but it works. So at any point, if I'm like, oh, I like what Primal Tap is doing, I can just either duplicate one of these tracks or just make a new track with input bus 7, and then we got it. So, I mean, the main sound in this one is this, which let me take the effect rack off. So this, I guess now we talk about how we found
Only if you
the
want
samples.
to.
I mean, yeah, I don't care. I mean, so a lot of, obviously we did the guitar and stuff, but another fun thing we've been doing is just throwing random things that pop into our head into the sampler and see what comes out of it. So
we're both ADHD sufferers, and part of the superpower of that is we have a Rolodex, a mental Rolodex of everything we've ever heard before.
Yeah,
we can roll through that real quickly, grab things.
Yeah, so I had been. I'll just say it. I've been thinking a lot about albums that I listened to while growing up, albums that are like super nostalgic for me, and one of those is the soundtrack to the movie Out of Africa, which was made by John Barry, I believe, was the composer. But it's just one of those. It's obviously just straight up nostalgic for me, but there are. For decades now, there have been moments in these songs where I'm like, oh my gosh, just like that chord is cool. The way the strings play that one chord or one moment. So it's like, well, all we did was literally pull up Spotify, play it, and send it into Primal Tap and other things. So I believe, do I even have, if I unhide it, there's probably a track that's like, desktop right here. So it's already input. So with this track, I can pull from my desktop audio, and you can see I'm already sending it to bus 1, which is the Primal Tap bus. So pretty much at any time, I can pull up anything on my computer and route it directly to Primal Tap and see what happens. So we did that a lot, and like a lot of it was not good because that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time because you don't want to just like straight up grab a 5-second clip from that thing and leave it unchanged and be like, there it is.
Yeah.
So you got to find something that sounds good, and then also that sounds good after you like mess with it a while in Primal Tap.
Yeah. And then the second layer of it is like, so once we do that sort of thing, and then we end up with this, and like, I know we were both like, this is awesome, that's a good layer, but it's like I'm tired of that already now. Like that's too much.
Yeah.
So the other thing we did a lot, because Primal Tap is a delay, and what you get out of it is very short loops, relatively, and they can get repetitive and annoying. So obviously, one way to deal with that is automation. Like you can draw in volume automation, but we like to not do that. So there are a couple things happening. This is a moving filter that over 16 bars will roll off the high end.
Which again, 16 bars of not being synced to any. It's just like an arbitrary.
Yeah, it's just, and we're at 65 BPM. Like that just felt right, So we're doing that. So over time, the sound is going to shift frequency wise. But then the big thing is the tremolator. So, I know I made a custom shape on this. It's largely based on the silver tone, I think, waveform or whatever. And the rhythm is 2 bars, so that means like for one bar it's like up, and then for the second bar it's mostly cutting the sound off. So instead of that super repetitive thing we had, you end up with this kind of a thing. I guess I gotta turn it on for it to do something. So it's out, and then it's coming back for a measure, and then it's out again, which
you can kind of see that filter moving slowly. But that's like, so over the course of that whole clip,
yeah,
it's gonna move that filter.
So it's like way up, and then it's going so slow.
Yeah.
That may not even be super perceptible, but and like in context, I mean, this is like the big part of the song, right? Like without that tremolator, I think this whole thing changes vibes. Like I'm already annoyed with it, It's nice to be like, oh, there it is, and it's gone again. And because this is asynchronous, because we didn't record it to a grid, it's like the parts that fade in will be like slightly different. It'll be a different timing. It'll be a different piece of the loop, even though it's so small. So that feels good.
So it's just a lot of, and this is sort of, I think, a theme through all these little bits and pieces that we've grabbed. It's like really small changes over time, especially because the tracks that we're writing are a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As long as you can make some changes and like keep it interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's what we were concerned with for a lot of the process here with grabbing some of these guys.
I'm pretty sure you can see that I cut this one up, and I believe this turned into some of these little guys here. What do these do?
The volume's out there.
Oh, it's just way delayed.
Oh, that's the crystallizer.
Yeah. So if I turn all this crap off, this should not be there. What does this sound like? Yeah, so clearly this is just a tiny piece of this.
Yeah, which, thinking back now, this was another way that we talked about making this loop more interesting, is like taking little bits of it, pitch shifting them, putting them, to like bubble up or whatever.
Yeah, and I did, it looks like I kind of randomly resized it too. Like this is that's shorter, this is a slightly longer one. Mm-hmm. But yeah. But then the real thing is in, this is the first time we're talking about crystallizer. We end up using this a lot. So this is basically a pitch shifting delay. You can see I have the mix full wet, which is why earlier when I was playing it, we didn't hear the sound for a bit. So I've got the delay on a half note. So when it plays this, we'll hear it there. Yeah.
There it is.
And it looks like, okay, so I'm going down an octave and a fifth. So I'm lower than an octave on this. So what we get is a different interval than what this original track was and a much lower octave, which is cool. So then it sounds like this. And it's really like jumbled, like it's abrupt.
Yeah. It's another plus of the way that we were sampling a lot of these tracks, to sample them in a more extreme range and then adjust them again with a second octave.
Yeah.
So like that original loop is pretty high.
Yeah.
So it works to be able to be like, okay, we're going to throw this down an octave and then another fifth.
Yeah, it doesn't turn to just mud.
Yeah.
When you do that. So like and there were a lot of parts where we really leaned into the glitchiness, like this feels kind of glitchy because of the delay and the splice values. But then obviously we freaking verbed it out. So I did Valhalla delay and verb, which is kind of crazy. What's it sound like with the delay? Oh, the delay I did 100% mix too. Okay, so we're going 100% mix into Crystallizer, and then 100% mix into Valhalla delay.
Yeah, it's like more texture. I feel like I remember.
Yeah,
it's like that tape warble.
So let's see what this does.
But it wasn't too much. We were like messing around with some more extreme sounds, I think, at first.
I gotta turn it on. Holy cow! I was like, it's not doing anything. So that's just about filling up some space a bit between the notes. But it's still a little too defined. I did 100% mix here too.
Yep.
That's funny. I didn't realize I did that. So I completely smeared it out with Crystallizer, then completely delayed it out, and then completely smeared it out again. It's funny. All right, so turn this on. What do we get? So it's not. This isn't a crazy verb. It's only a 2-second one, but it's just meant to like smooth out those delay repeats. But they're still kind of there, you know. I think in the mix it sounds really good. It's just these like pulses kind of behind everything. Let's see if you can, folks, listeners at home, see if you can hear it in the mix.
Yeah, and at this point, we had a lot of pieces in place, so it was like
we just needed to like place little ones.
Out, like, how do we make this work in the context of everything else that's going on? What sounds best? And what sounded best was 3 plugins with 100% mix.
Yeah, sometimes that's what works. And then too, it's like the way these are placed is largely just completely random.
Yeah, it's
and like usually what happens with stuff like this is a lot gets thrown on the track and then we remove a lot later because it's like, ooh, that clashed with this or this. Let's move that. Whatever.
We had too many good ideas and we had to limit some of them. Basically.
Yep. And then I don't think there's anything different with these back here. It gets more repeatable. Oh, was I automating the oh, I forgot about all the automation I did. So we automated the interval on the Crystallizer. So for this part it's doing an octave and a fifth down, and then it goes to just an octave down here. So that, and then back down. Yep. And then it looks like up here, we move from doing an octave and a fifth down to just an octave here. Yeah, which really kind of like brings it into that drop or whatever.
The mix opens up there a little bit too, so you're getting the original sample
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right here.
Just like a little bit before the drop.
Yeah. So that's that. What's this layer? Ooh. This is one of those, like, I don't even know if I remember where this came from, but just one of those moments that was. This is one of those random moments where I think we went down a couple octaves and it ended up working, and it's such a short piece that got stretched that, like, I don't even know where it came from.
Yeah, that was another thing that was happening while we were tracking. Sometimes Andy real time would open up. Let's say we build something on the board, and then Andy real time would open up Primal Tap and grab little bits and just kind of like mess around. And so we'd have, by the end of tracking, one of our boards, we'd have a couple different layers of different things, different moments that were grabbed, and sometimes we use them, and sometimes we wouldn't.
Well, this one I could tell, I was like, this is filling a certain space on this.
Mm-hmm.
There's another track where, like, you may not notice it until you take it away, but, like,
yeah, it just feels
like
a little bit of that frequency. That was another thing we talked about, was like, once you build up all these sample like layers or whatever, you're using the same sounds over and over, and so there are just little frequency gaps that can be plugged if you want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and so finding little bits like that helps with the dynamics, I think, a lot.
Yep. And then I also had the feeling on this one that I wanted to give it some movement, but without sort of the other ways we've done movement with the filter and, like, volume or tremolo. So I love this Valhalla Space Modulator plugin. It's free. I was like, I just want a really slow moving but, like, very high feedback modulation, so where it's like you're hearing the sweep along with the actual sound. So that's what this added. Let's see. I remember this ended up being pretty subtle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear, like, certain notes will start resonating. So without it. Yeah, so you just get some, like, higher pitch resonant things, which are really great. So that was that one. And then what is this one? Low mid drone, I called this. Okay, yeah. So I knew that these two together would be really, really good. This one feels like a Hotel Neon track.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? What is this one? So we've got a filter moving very slowly again.
Yeah, these sound like they were taken from the same.
Yeah, maybe.
The same bit. We'll never know.
We'll never know. Wait, I just opened this. This is another thing I did too. So when I use Primal Tap, pretty much always I go to the tweak section and I put it in ping pong mode, which is not the default. I think the default is classic or series. And what that does usually is you end up with a sample that's, like, really, really wide, which is cool. But then once we have, like, 5 or 6 tracks, it's like you can't just throw everything that wide. So I don't know how much I did it here. Let me see. Oh, look, yeah. I used the direction mixer. I split it so I can I left the highs full width, but I brought the lows in by 50%.
Yeah.
Right here.
I'll say too, I think a lot of these utility plugins, and this is just a shout out to Logic, a lot of these utility plugins that they have are really slept on, but, like, being able to have your high and your low frequency without having to parallel mix or anything, you have your high and your low frequencies, you can change the width and like shape of just right there. People should be using these more.
Yeah, I use this all the time.
Stereo spread is another one.
Yeah, let's see if we can hear a difference, like with these two tracks together, and then I turn this off. I mean, you can hear the bass kind of move out, which sounds cool by itself. But in the mix, this is going to be what we need.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that.
No, but it's, I mean, doing these things helps save a lot of processing and like figuring
Yeah.
out EQ moves later
Yeah.
on like a master bus or something.
And I'm trying to think of what else. I don't think there's a lot else happening on here. No. What is bus 8? Oh, I have like a room I'm sending to, and I'm using this like this UAD plugin. Some riser strings. I forgot I did that. So a lot of different tracks are being sent to bus 8 for like a space type, like it's being put in a room. All right, so that's that layer, blah, blah, blah. What's another? We got this bubbles layer. Oh, we already talked about that one. That's the first one.
That's the first thing we talked about.
The first thing. We do have a kick drum in this. It's just a 808. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot to say there. The real thing to talk about is this track that's muted. So around the kick drum, we have this noise and reverse noise. Let me solo these two. Actually, I'll solo the kick too. Yeah. So those sounds were made by, this was a cool trick that happened. Because I think we were just thinking like, oh, those, like we kind of went down the kick drum thing, like, oh, what if we actually put like a pulsing kick drum down there? And then it was like, we need to add some high-end burst of something to it.
Yeah, I think we spent, because this was the first track that we mixed, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what kind of like the bass sound would be, or like how we wanted the whole thing to work.
Yeah.
And I really felt like this song needed some like pulsing, breathing kind of something. And so you're messing around with like with just the bass and like some gates and whatever, and it was working a little bit. But yeah, we talked and decided to try putting this white, so you can have,
I think we were saying like, oh, we need something like some white noise up there. And then we were like, well, let's just literally grab the white noise plugin.
Mm-hmm.
This test, so this is a Logic test oscillator.
Yep. You can just make white noise.
You can click on white noise.
Whatever you want.
So this is muted now because I printed the track ultimately. But if I solo it and take all these, if I take all the plugins off except the first one, we just hear the white noise. It's just on. And clearly that's not what we wanted. So the first thing we did was add a gate to it. So this is a gate. The sidechain is instrument 5, which is the fake kit, which we made a fake kit that wasn't actually heard, but was really just to drive the sidechain. Because the kick happened more often than we wanted the burst to happen.
Right.
So when this fake kit hits, the gate opens up on the noise. So is it still set up to do that? Yep. So that's what it sounds like with just the gate. So, which is not that exciting still, but we knew we were onto something. So, the second idea was like, okay, well, we have a white noise like psh, just for like a period of time. Like we need to make it move somehow. So I just threw a compressor after it, side changed to the same thing. And so when the kick does hit, it like compresses and then releases. So it's like the sound is low volume and then just kind of blooms out because of these two plugins. Let's see. Yep. It's like, it goes down at like minus 20 dB or 30, and then it comes back. So that was obviously like, okay, we got something cool. And then it's just adding the other shit.
Yeah.
So, well, we EQ'd it a little bit for any low end, and then we added a delay. That one was cool. I think I specifically did like a dotted. Yeah, I did a dotted 16th.
That classic subdivision.
Well, it feels like a dotted eighth because we're at freaking 65 BPM.
Uh-huh.
So that's that, and then I was like, well, that should be a little dirtier. So there's a saturator after that. Let's turn that on. That's just like beefing it up a little bit, and it looks like I beefed it up again with a decapitator.
I think at this point we were like trying to shape the tone a little bit, so the tone knob is down, darker.
Yeah.
Because we're like,
I'm
use
cutting
the white
lows.
Noise, we're cutting the highs and the lows, and just kind of getting this little mid range. And then we're like, let's add some more harmonics and things. It's not really white noise at the end of the day. It's just kind of like regular noise.
Regular, yeah. So then it sounds like this. It's barely doing it. It's mostly just EQing, I guess. And then is this a moving one? Oh, what the hell? I did a high pass. Never do a high pass.
Yeah, I think again.
This is just a
tone shaping.
This is just a stationary one, so it's just a straight up high pass that's not moving. I don't know why I felt the need to do. I think the decapitator and culture vulture added a lot of low end back. I don't know why I decided to use Filter Freak to filter it, but
just making sure.
So that was a cool little thing that ended up, and then obviously I didn't want to have to be generating that real time while we were listening, so I just printed it here, so it's just, no additional effects. But then once it's printed, we could reverse it. So then I just cut a piece of that, brought it down here, and then put the reverse part in front of the non-reverse part.
It's so funny to me that doesn't have a waveform attached to the. It's like so small.
Yeah, I mean, it has barely anything.
We promise it's there.
Yeah, I swear. And I do believe on this one, yeah, I completely unwidened it, so the spread is 0. But the idea was for the reverse part to come in like mono in the center, and then it goes like kind of spreads out when it hits. So subtle.
Yeah, it was doing
but
the
cool,
thing.
Doing the thing. Man, we are 45 minutes into this.
45 minutes?
I know. We'll try to speed through the rest of it. Yeah, so that was that. The bass we ended up using was this Monarch. Which sounded really nice. By itself. So it's like, really we just wanted some supporting lows with like a little bit of texture, like nothing crazy.
Yeah, just like slightly more than a sine wave, which is like, this is adding some of that analog, like, grid.
Yeah. And,
I think there's a, did we use the chorus on that, as well in the effects rack?
Probably.
Nope. We turned it off.
Turned it off.
We did try it for a while.
Oh, we used it on the next track that'll be out. And then the other thing that helped here was sidechain on here based on the real kick. So the one that's going every time. So you should hear it kind of compress when the kick hits. Yeah, so we're losing 7 dB when it hits to make room for it.
Yeah, it's getting out of the way a little bit.
Yeah.
Sidechain your low end, folks.
Sidechain. Clean some stuff up down there. In terms of pieces, is that? Oh no, there's some more Primal tap stuff. What is this layer? Oh, we haven't talked about the little clicky layers. Maybe that'll be the last thing we talk about. Okay, so this is another Primal Tap layer that we were like, this is good. But once again, it's a little, like if we were just gonna let it play, it's a little too repetitive. And I know this is one of the few instances where we took the sample and actually physically stretched it, because we were like, it would be cooler if it was like slower.
Yeah.
But at the same pitch. So that's where we used the freaking
flex time. Yeah.
If I unclick that, will it shorten it? Yeah. Okay, so this is what we had.
Which is like, yeah, it's not that different, but in the context of the whole thing,
it was just
dragging out that little, like adding a little bit of slowness to it.
So literally all we did was turn on flex time and then just drag the edge of this. Like I could make it more by doing this, you know? And there's a trade-off with like sound quality. But this is where we ended up. It's like just a little more stretch than where it was. And then what did I do? Oh, I just flipped it 180 because I'm always using Primal Tap in that ping pong mode. Like it always goes, the first repeat is always like on the right. And so if you have 5 or 6 of those tracks stacking up, they always all just seem to go the same direction. So I always try to flip a couple of them, so it's like there's a few going the other way. Yeah, that's that. And then so the very last little textural pieces are this and this little clicky guys. So this sound is the Boss RPD10 little micro rack delay that I have. And what's awesome about it, so it's a ping pong delay, but it has a hold function. So a lot of what I would do in some of these tracks is, send audio out to the unit like I would to Primal Tap, and then just hold and see if what came out of it was a cool sound or not. And this sort of sound was like another way to fill up those higher frequencies in an interesting way.
Yeah, we had a lot. This was like pretty close to the end of the process of arranging and stuff, and we had a lot in the like low mid range, and that sample in the higher range. But that was kind of it for the higher range, and so we were kind of looking for things to fill up the frequency spectrum.
Yeah. So it took a few tries because you send something to it and you press hold and it's like, oh, you're capturing these few milliseconds of audio, and like sometimes it just doesn't work, doesn't sound good. Sometimes it does. You just have to be like, oh yes, this sounds good. I don't really know why. But I feel like this part helps bring that drop to life a little bit too, because like without it, like we're coming into it. And like, I don't know, now that the track's done, I'm like, oh, I missed that like pulsing high part. We kind of bring it in a little early to... Yeah, feels good. And then at the end, it's the same part, but just like super filtered. Yeah, all I did was, well, that's the low end, and then Filter Freak is, I just did a bandpass on it with no mod. All right.
So that's a good sound.
Yeah, that's a good sound. And then, okay, very last thing, and this was fully your idea, right? We were working on this, and you literally about right here, you were like, wait, I have an idea. And you got up, and you were rummaging around, and you came back with a cassette deck, right? What did you come back with?
Yeah, one of my little cassette players.
you were
I actually brought one and then didn't like how it sounded.
yeah, you
so I
brought a
went and grabbed
different one.
another
Yeah. But because at a moment like this, the tendency is to be like, all right, just fade that layer out. But I think we had a bit of a wild hair maybe, and we were like, what if we didn't fade it out, and it was just like it just like stopped,
Well, you said you wanted to do that speed drop.
Oh right.
That's what gave me the idea. We were messing around with
Yeah.
the speed drop.
So I put this instead of a fade out, it's a slowdown. So instead of this, which is whatever, I just changed it to a slowdown. And then you were like,
yeah, and that just reminded me that I work with tapes a lot, so I was like, that reminds me of stopping a tape machine, and that the lo-fi-ness of the sound and everything, it just kind of clicked.
And then so we recorded this.
So I went in the garage. I grabbed one of my tape machines, and I didn't like the way the first one sounded.
You just came up to this mic, and we were like, all right, cool.
Click.
Just click.
And that was it.
Yep. There it is.
And it was so loud.
Yeah, we had to keep turning it down in the mix. Did I even EQ? No, I didn't do shit to it. That's funny. Yeah, so then oh wait. Whatever. I'm not gonna save this once I exit anyway. No. But yeah, and then together it just sounded like this.
The end of the track is There you go.
Which is pretty great. Is there anything else? Master bus stuff?
Yeah, we did. So you did a little master bus. We recorded all of this stuff into some master bus plugins, some UAD stuff, and then afterwards, I moved it. We bounced the track to stereo, and I moved it into my DAW on my computer.
Yeah.
And did some mastering stuff, which is we don't have time to talk about that. But basically, it's just like EQ and compression, and that's it.
But these have been on pretty much the whole time, even from beginning tracking. So we just got a little Pultec for some low-end tightening with that boost and attenuate trick, and then a little bit of a high-end boost, not much. And then this compressor that I kind of know how to use, but just know it sounds good. And then the limiter, which I love, and into a tape plugin. And that's it.
Yep.
So, all right, this is an hour.
Yeah.
It's basically a podcast, I guess.
Right. So we're going to do some more of these, but they won't be this long.
Hopefully. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash that bell icon.
Smash the buttons.
See you on the island.
See you on the island. All right, folks. Bye.
Bye.